In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 NBA games happening on December 14, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. New Orleans Pelicans versus Chicago Bulls. The New Orleans Pelicans head to the United Center on Sunday to face the Chicago Bulls, and honestly, this one feels like a matchup between two teams trying to remember what confidence looks like. On the Pelicans side, they are still without DeJounte Murray according to the report, and Zion Williamson is sitting in that uncomfortable questionable category. That is not ideal for a team that finally snapped a 7-game skid by running the Trail Blazers off the floor in their last outing. That blowout win probably felt great in the locker room, but when you stack it against the previous 7 losses, it looks more like a temporary mood boost than proof that everything is fixed. If Williamson sits again, that ceiling drops in a hurry, and suddenly you are relying on role players to carry stretches that usually belong to a star. Chicago is not in much better shape in terms of recent results. The Bulls also dropped 7 straight before scraping past the Hornets in their last game. It was more relief than statement, like finally exhaling after holding your breath too long. The one thing working in their favor is that they do expect some help returning to the rotation, and that matters over 4 quarters. As more regulars get back into rhythm, their structure on both ends tends to stabilize just a bit, which is often enough when you are facing another struggling team rather than a heavyweight. Here is the thing. Trusting either side right now feels a little like flipping a coin and then pretending you meant to call it that way all along. Both teams have been leaky on defense, streaky on offense, and inconsistent with effort. The small edge, though, tilts toward Chicago. The Bulls are at home, they are getting healthier, and there is a sense that once they get a couple of decent results, they can at least start edging upward instead of sinking further. The Pelicans, with their star possibly out again and that recent stretch of losses still fresh, have a more fragile base to lean on. In a matchup of two damaged groups, that slight health and continuity advantage for Chicago becomes the deciding factor. As our first pick for this matchup, the Chicago Bulls to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. New Orleans is averaging 113 points on 45.8% shooting and allowing 123.7 points on 49.8%. That is a pretty harsh gap. They knocked down 34.7% of their threes and hit 78% from the free throw line, with 42 rebounds per game helping them generate second chances. Offensively, that combination keeps them dangerous enough to put up decent totals, especially when the jumpers fall and they get to the stripe consistently. The problem is that defensive line, because giving up nearly 124 points on those kinds of percentages points to long stretches where opponents get whatever look they want. The Bulls sit in a similar lane. Chicago is averaging 117.3 points on 46.6% from the field and allowing 122.6 points on 47.5%. From deep, they are at 36.6% and 79.1% at the line, while pulling down 45.5 boards per contest. So you have both teams scoring at a solid clip and both allowing well over 120 points per game, with decent three-point shooting and respectable free throw numbers on each side. On paper, those stats feel like a recipe for another fast, rising scoreboard. Here is where the slight twist comes in. Even though the raw numbers say offense, the current context nudges things toward a lower outcome than you might expect. Both squads have just snapped long losing streaks, and teams in that spot often tighten up a bit in their next outing, trying not to slip back into old habits. If Zion is limited or absent, New Orleans can struggle for stretches in the half court, and that drags down their side of the scoring. The Bulls, even with their decent averages, can also drift into slower, more deliberate trips when protecting a lead at home, especially if they feel like they finally have a chance to string wins together. Less chaos, more controlled possessions, fewer wild runs. Put that together and you get a matchup where both teams have the statistical profile of high scorers, but the game situation, the uncertainty around key players, and the possibility of more cautious, half-court focus stretches all point to a total that can land below the lofty expectations suggested by the season averages. It has the feel of a game that flirts with offense, but does not completely explode. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Sacramento Kings versus Minnesota Timberwolves. The Sacramento Kings roll into the Target Center on Sunday night to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this one has that familiar mix of talent, injuries, and frustration on both sides. Sacramento is still missing Drew Eubanks, Dennis Schroeder, and Domantas Sabonis, with Keon Ellis tagged as questionable. That is a lot of rotation shuffling for a group that already feels off balance. The Kings have been a mess all season by their own standards, and that ugly 31-point loss to the Nuggets on Thursday just underlined how far off their usual level they are right now. When you get blown out like that, it is not just the scoreboard, it is the hit to confidence, and this team has already taken a few of those punches. Minnesota is in a very different mood. The Timberwolves have ruled out Mike Conley, while Bones Highland and Anthony Edwards are both listed as questionable. Even with those concerns, they have been rolling lately and are coming off a solid win over the Warriors, which always feels good for a locker room. The key thing is that their overall form has been trending up, even while they juggle injuries. Here is the thing about the Kings. They still have enough scoring pop to make a game out of almost any matchup if one or two players really catch fire. That is always lurking in the background with them. But asking this current version, without some key pieces and with that recent blowout in the rear view, to walk into a tough building and match the Timberwolves' physicality for 4 quarters feels like a tall order. Minnesota is rightly the clear favorite, and even if Edwards cannot go, they still have Randall, who stepped up nicely in their last outing and showed he can shoulder a bigger role when needed. Combine their current surge with home court, and it sets up as a spot where the Timberwolves can control the pace, lean on their strengths, and pull away from a slumping Kings side. As our first pick for this matchup, the Minnesota Timberwolves to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Kings are averaging 111.5 points per game while shooting 46.6% from the field and giving up 122 points on 49.7%. They are hitting 35.4% of their threes and 75.2% from the free throw line, and they are pulling down 40 rebounds per contest. That combination tells you their offense is capable enough, but their defense has been leaking badly, with opponents getting efficient looks from everywhere. When you allow that kind of shooting night after night, totals tend to creep upward whether you like it or not, because every decent offense finds a rhythm eventually. On the Timberwolves side, the scoring profile is even stronger. Minnesota is putting up 119.7 points on 48.6% shooting and allowing 114.8 points on 46.3%. From beyond the arc, they sit at 38.3%, with 77.6% at the free throw line, and they are snagging 43.3 rebounds per game. So you have one team that scores efficiently while still giving up a fair amount, and another that struggles defensively and lets games get away from them. Both teams shoot well enough from deep and generate enough possessions on the glass to keep the scoreboard moving. Let me explain why that leans toward a higher total. Sacramento's poor defense invites clean looks, and Minnesota's efficient offense is built to punish that, especially at home. At the same time, the Kings can still score, particularly from 3, so they are not likely to disappear completely on that end even if they are chasing. The Timberwolves' own defense is decent but not suffocating in these numbers, which leaves room for Sacramento to chip in enough to keep things lively. When you put it together, you get a matchup where both sides have a path to plenty of points, and the statistical profiles are more friendly to an open, high-scoring game than a slow, grind-heavy one. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Los Angeles Lakers versus Phoenix Suns. The Los Angeles Lakers and Phoenix Suns meet Sunday at the Mortgage Matchup Center, and this one feels like a strange mix of revenge spot and injury watch. Consistency has slipped away from Luka Doncic and his Lakers since the start of December. Over 5 games, they have basically traded wins and losses, never really stringing together any rhythm. Earlier this week, they completely flatlined at home against the Spurs, a loss that cost them a place in the NBA Cup semifinals and probably stung more than they would admit. Now they turn around and face the same Phoenix team that beat them 125-108 at the beginning of the month. In that matchup, The Lakers were favored by 6.5 points, but a heroic night from Dillon Brooks snapped their 7-game win streak and flipped the script. Speaking of Brooks, both he and Devin Booker are listed as questionable with minor knocks, so there is some real uncertainty around what starting group the Suns can actually roll out. The funny thing is, whoever suits up, the game plan probably looks pretty similar to that first meeting. Phoenix knocked down 17 threes and forced 21 turnovers in that one, leaning straight into the one big weakness this Lakers team just cannot seem to shake. They rank near the bottom in opponent threes made per game and also give up one of the highest percentages from deep, which is exactly the wrong profile to have against a team that is happy to let it fly. Doncic's brief hiatus clearly played a part in that ugly loss to San Antonio, and that kind of disruption tends to throw off timing for everyone around him. Things should settle as he gets back into his usual rhythm. He had 9 turnovers against the Suns last time, and you get the feeling that performance has been stuck in his head ever since. Players like him remember those nights, and they usually circle the rematch. Both the Lakers and the Suns have been kind to bettors at different points this season, so you can make a reasonable case either way if you squint. Here is where it tilts. Phoenix has both Brooks and Booker sitting in the questionable bucket, and it is tough to feel great backing them if even one of those guys is limited, let alone both. The Lakers, for all the jokes about age, are a veteran group that has had several days off, and rest tends to help older legs more than younger ones. They have seen 10 of their 17 wins come on the road, and they sit at a profitable 15-9 against the spread on the season. We are not being asked to lay a huge number, and the setup here points toward a sharper, cleaner response from Doncic and his Lakers against a Suns side that could be wounded and short-handed again. In that light, backing Los Angeles to handle their business on the road makes plenty of sense. As our first pick for this matchup, the Los Angeles Lakers to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Lakers are averaging 118.3 points on 50.7% shooting and allowing 116.1 points on 48%. They are hitting 35.8% from 3 and 79.8% from the free throw line while pulling down 41 rebounds per game. That is a very efficient offensive profile, especially with that field goal percentage, but it is paired with a defense that gives up a lot of clean looks and a ton of success from deep. Allowing 37.9% shooting from beyond the arc is the sort of thing that can inflate totals fast when opponents get comfortable. Phoenix, on the other side, is averaging 115.9 points on 46.7% shooting and giving up 113.5 points on 47.8%. The Suns shoot 36.8% from 3 and 79% at the line, and they collect 42.5 rebounds per game. So you have two teams that score very well, shoot well from distance, and convert at the stripe, while both also allow opponents to hit at healthy clips from the field. On paper, that usually screams high-scoring game, especially if the three-point shots fall anywhere close to those averages. Here is where the contradiction sneaks in a bit. The first meeting was wide open, with those 17 Suns threes and all those Lakers turnovers feeding easy points. This time around, that exact formula does not have to repeat. The Lakers know how badly they were burned from the perimeter, and older teams that have had a rest often lean into slightly slower, more controlled possessions, especially on the road. Fewer rushed passes, fewer risky cross-court skips, more half-court sets. That can shave possessions off the total pace, even if both teams remain efficient. If Brooks and Booker are indeed less than 100%, that also subtly drags down Phoenix's offensive ceiling. The Suns can still score, but missing, or even just limiting, key shot makers usually means more touches for secondary options and more off-rhythm attempts late in the shot clock. Even a small dip in shot quality over 4 quarters can turn what looks like a clear shootout into a game that lands a bit short of expectations. So while the raw numbers say offense on both sides, the context here gives a reasonable path to a lower total. A more careful approach from the Lakers after that turnover-heavy first meeting, plus possible scoring dents on the Phoenix side, can combine to keep this from turning into another track meet. It still has room to be entertaining, just not necessarily a full fireworks show on the scoreboard. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Golden State Warriors versus Portland Trail Blazers. The Golden State Warriors head into the Moda Center on Sunday to face the Portland Trail Blazers, and this one has that odd mix of talent, frustration, and injuries that has kind of followed both teams around. The Warriors are still listed as missing Al Horford, and Portland has Scoot Henderson, Jrue Holiday, and Matisse Thybulle ruled out, with Robert Williams III and Donovan Clingan tagged as questionable. On paper, that sounds like a medical drama, not a basketball game. Even so, Golden State comes into this one about as healthy as they have been all season, which makes that missed opportunity against the Timberwolves on Friday sting even more. They had a real shot there and let it slip, and that is becoming a theme. Here is the thing with this version of the Warriors. They should be better than they are right now. They have the names, they have enough scoring and experience, but it just has not clicked consistently. They have already dropped 9 games on the road, and that is not the profile you want when you are suddenly laying points away from home. The talent is still respected by the market, sometimes more than the recent results probably deserve. Portland, for all the injuries, is still punching above what you would expect on many nights. Even with a short rotation, they have covered 4 of their last 6, which suggests effort has not been the issue. They have already picked up 2 wins over the Warriors this season, and that sort of history does sit in the back of players' minds, especially for a young group that gains confidence from those little "we can get these guys" moments. You will get mistakes from the Blazers, sure, but you also get energy and a willingness to push back. So while Golden State is absolutely capable of walking in, catching fire, and finally starting that run everyone keeps waiting for, they have not earned automatic trust yet. The gap between what they are supposed to be and what they have actually been is still pretty wide. Meanwhile, Portland keeps hanging around spreads they probably should not, even with that laundry list of injuries. In a spot like this, with the Warriors inconsistent and the Blazers quietly competitive, grabbing the points and expecting Portland to keep it close makes more sense than assuming a comfortable Golden State blowout. As our first pick for this matchup, the Portland Trail Blazers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Golden State is averaging 113.5 points on 44.9% shooting while giving up 111.7 on 45.7%. They hit 36.4% from 3 and 81.9% from the free throw line, and they pull down 43.5 rebounds per game. That profile belongs to a team that can score in bunches, especially from the perimeter, and rarely wastes trips at the stripe. Even when the shots are a bit off, those free throws and offensive boards keep their totals from falling too far. Portland, on the other hand, is averaging 117.4 points on 44.2% shooting and allowing 120.7 points on 47.9%. They shoot 33% from deep and 79.8% at the line while grabbing 45.8 rebounds per game. So you have a team that scores plenty, defends poorly, and creates a lot of second chances through rebounding. It is messy, but messy usually favors points. When both teams are putting up that kind of scoring and giving up those kinds of percentages, the door is wide open for a high total. Now add in how they play. Portland runs at the number 3 pace in the league, pushing the ball and living with the chaos. Golden State sits around 20th, but they still like to run whenever they can, especially when Curry has the ball and starts to feel that familiar rhythm. With him on the floor, a couple of quick pull-up threes can turn a quiet quarter into a scoring burst in a heartbeat. History between these two only reinforces that feel. They have already met twice this season and both games went over. 4 of the last 5 meetings have gone over as well, which tells you that when these two share the floor, the style of play tends to open up. It is not just about efficiency, it is also about tempo, shot selection, and how quickly each side is willing to fire. Put it all together and you get a matchup where both teams have shown they can score, both have defensive issues, and at least one side wants to push the pace hard. That combination usually tilts toward a higher scoring game rather than a slow, grind-heavy battle. Unless both teams go ice cold at the same time, the ingredients are here for the total to land on the higher side again. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.